So this is building data-driven solution with Snowflake database. Snowflake database is it's a complete suite of database and data warehouse, and everything is there inside a Snowflake. It's a world in itself, and it has been getting a lot of attention of tech community these days. A lot of implementation are happening on Snowflake, and um, this is great database suite that all of us need to learn and know. And if you need, we can build our career here. So this is again another session from multi-cloud for you. This will be given by Ravi Bhushan. Ravi Bhushan is an industry expert. He's a technologist. He works in a multinational, and he is playing and working with data for last almost 13, 14 years or more than that, maybe. Um, Ravi has worked on big data, GCP, Google Cloud, AWS, you name it, and he would have worked or he would have analyzed or sold some solution or built some solution for his client. Uh, I will describe a little more about Ravi later. So again, as introduced earlier, it's a community of industry expert. This multi-cloud runs a monthly weekly series on multiple thing, enterprise, cloud, and tech learning. And cloud include data. Without data, nothing can happen, right? Multi-cloud learning, niche engineering, stream implementation, migration management, Alibaba Cloud partner. We are a Alibaba Cloud partner, multiple cloud and technology platform partner, DigitalOcean, Linode, Arc.io, the Arc.io IoT lead came yesterday. Obviously, there was some issues, but we tried to manage through the YouTube channel. We have live streaming going on multiple platforms, so that's another way you can view and get our channel. I believe there will be multiple people on the live stream. Data warehouse programming and stream engineering is part of data warehouse that we are talking today. Free certificate endorsed by real practitioner, goodies directly directed from cloud and tech company. And we have a full data science team, and they are planning to come up with a complete series on data science learning. So Ravi, move to the next slide. So this is Ravi Bhushan. I think he will explain about him once he start, but he's 16 plus year of direct engagement with the tech industry. As I said, right? So it's almost 16 plus years, data engineering lead, and he has a plethora of experience inside playing with data, being a business analyst, a lot of other things. So yeah. So Ravi can be contacted through his LinkedIn profile, linkedin.com in Ravi Bhushan. You can search for Ravi Bhushan on Google and you will be able to find out. Ravi, if you move to next slide. This is me, Anjani Kumar. Needless to mention again, but it's like I am the chief evangelist of multi-cloud for you. This is my LinkedIn profile. I work with my partner Dheeraj Singh and Bhaskar Tripathi. Bhaskar Tripathi lead the data science wing, and Dheeraj Singh is the master of the data world. Obviously, he has given a few sessions in the past. He is bit busy in your client consultancy work. He's the CEO of Multi-Cloud for You LLC USA, and he will be coming into multiple sessions in the future and giving us a lot of insight around data. Please move on. This is my LinkedIn profile, Anjani K. Kumar. So this is our lifetime membership. If you have to go, you just register with us. We are building a better platform, mobile-based platform, which will come into the picture. Every user who will be there will be automatically onboarded there, where you will be able to see your certificate, able to get it batch and the learning curve and path, everything. So, so there are a lot of things that. Sorry, I got a call. No issues. So. And then if you have any issue, you can go into this help section. Ravi, if you can move to the next slide. Yeah, so you can get your certificate for this session or most of our session. You can get your certificate for most of our session on fifthIR.com or multicloudforyou.com/stream. And obviously, if you have any queries, you can join our Telegram channel. And hello, everybody who joined recently. Welcome, everyone. Ravi, move to next slide. This is there are two links. If you move back, I think people get confused with if you can move back. So you see multicloudforyou.com/stream. This is our website and stream is the page. There you will see move next. they will see there are two icon which is for live streaming. You can simply click watch and it will take you to the live streaming. There also you can request for certificate. So all platform are integrated seamlessly with the certification platform. You don't need to go into fifthtier.com. You don't want. And the cloud radio, which is like you just need to walk in the evening, in the night, or somewhere you just want to listen it. Simply go to the page, open it, and leave it. This stream is being broadcasted there also. We move next. Yeah, so this is our YouTube page. If you miss, by any chance, if you miss or there is an issue in connectivity or anything, you can later watch our sessions here. And we give around 8 to 10 hours window where you can also claim your certificate even even if it's not streaming live. So that's another good thing. Move next. So everyone know why are we doing this session. We are not trainers, we are seasoned practitioner. Differentiating the monk and the priest is like the same. Everyone who joins here can connect with us, can talk on the topic, and discuss more around. If they know anything, they can come on the platform and they can give their speech, or whatever they have done great thing in the industry they can talk about. We'll facilitate them to be a speaker, and they can talk on that topic. Sharing our knowledge build optimism, build organizational and social trust within the tech community, enhance the capacity of innovation, reciprocate what we have learned in the industry, and lower the entry barrier for newcomers. So if there are newcomers, if they are facing issues, we try to solve them with this community. Move next. Okay, it's all Ravi now. Ravi, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Rajni. Thank you very much. So, hello everyone. So, I'll be talking about the Snowflake data warehouse today, and I'll be taking you through the Snowflake UI as well. So, the agenda for this session will be listed over here. So, we'll start with a brief overview of cloud data warehouse, what exactly it is, how it's different from the uh, on-premise traditional data warehouse that we talk about. Then we'll move to Snowflake overview as a high-level concept of Snowflake, like uh, what the Snowflake is, why we're using, how it's different from other players like Teradata and all. And then we'll move to the uh, uh, web interface of Snowflake. We'll do a sign up. We can do a sign up. We can get a trial account, and we can. I will walk you through with the user interface. I will create the first database tables, and then we'll talk about the pricing and the architecture. So the let's start with the cloud warehouse, data warehouse. So earlier, uh, we used to have a traditional data warehouse where we used to have a capacity planning for any warehouse setup. We used to have a complete infrastructure setup. We need to have physically server installed, um, and that we used to manage, and uh, we used to have create resources and all. Now the main challenge that the organization used to face was the scalability. Also, the servers, the data center used to kept on switched on for like almost every time. So we we cannot down the.
Hello, Ravi. Ravi, we have lost you. Ravi, if you can come back.
Hello,
Yeah, yeah,
can you hear me?
yeah, we can hear you.
There was some kind of network disturbance. I got. Okay, so the scalability was one of the issue. Also, the data center we used to keep data we used to keep on all the time. So now the organization started moving to the cloud warehouse, data warehouse, where we use pay per use. The main factor of the cloud data warehouse are basically compute and storage. So, for example, when there is a peak time for like a month end or any kind of sale period going on, then the the organization can scale up the servers, or it can uh, bring the server down whenever they're required. Also, the one major aspects of the cloud data warehouse is basically the performance that we talked about. So now, earlier we used to have a data center located at one physical location. For example, if you're talking in sitting in India, and my data center was somewhere in US, then obviously the performance issue was there and all those things. Now, in kind of in the cloud computing world, we have a regions, location, geography based on all. So uh, there are regions associated with, and based on your own organization or your own organization profile location, you can use the particular data center or the region, and in that way, the latency are minimized, or it's sometimes it's no latency at all. So let me move to so that's where the cloud thing actually came up. Now moving to the Snowflake. So Snowflake. So what is a Snowflake actually, and why it's so much popping up these days? There are multiple reasons to it. The first one is that we talk about, it's a cloud data warehouse. It is basically traditional ANSI SQL database warehouse where all your existing application reports can run over it. There are no managed overhead, which means that there are no private indexes to create. There are no data distribution keys to maintain. There are no partitions. All your data security in terms of like encryptions or encryption is by default in the Snowflake. Also, the compression are enabled by default. And you only need to simply load the data into the Snowflake and start using it. And the most beautiful part is that it's basically uses our traditional ANSI SQL language, where only you need a basic SQL understanding, and you can simply write the queries, load the tables, and do all those things. It it supports both structured and semi-structured data. As we talked about earlier in the cloud warehouse, so especially pay-per-use, when you only pay only for those services which you're using. The services which you are not using, you don't need to pay for it. Also, for example, when you are scaling up your compute servers or storage, you pay for those extra services, and later on when you want to move back to the original size and compute, you only need to deregister from the service. Also, it uses all the good features of cloud, which means until unlimited compute and storage. We do not need any kind of capacity. We do not need any kind of capacity planning over here. So you do not need to set up a data center and all. You simply go and go on the system and simply log into Snowflake. You simply take a subscription and start using your start working for the project. Also, it's basically it's a true MPP tool. So what is MPP is that we all learn. So it's a massive parallel processing, which means that if suppose a user
Arun will answer that in the question hour. Obviously, it's a nice question. We'll answer that in the question hour. Just wait. Yeah, Ravi, continue.
okay. So Snowflake is a true MPP, which means, like, for example, if we have a 10 nodes in a cluster, and all those, so suppose you find a query on a so it will be distributed among the 10 nodes parallelly, which means that the performance will always be the better performance. Again, it's a scalable, so you can as we talked about, like for example, whenever you want to uh, scale ahead, like for example, um, uh, during your monthly loads or any kind of offer or sale or anything that you want to do, you can simply scale up or scale down, and you actually pay for it. It is actually now we talk about comparing it with the other major players of the warehouse. Like for example, we talk about Teradata, we and all. So Teradata and Snowflake are both are MPPs, both use answer sequence and all. But most of the cases, in case of Teradata, we do not have unlimited compute and storage. Again, it's the most prominent part of Teradata is on-premise one. It has a cloud version, but that is still not popular yet. Snowflake has more flexibility to it. Snowflake, the when you talk about Teradata, it's a private. It use their own proprietary hardware and all, whereas Snowflake uses AWS Azure hardware proprietary and its own proprietary both. Being on-premise, say Teradata, it requires capacity planning, but in case of Snowflake, it's simply uh, we have unlimited cloud storage. We can scale it to any level to any kind of metadata. Also, in most of the warehouses, we do not have a by default encryption or compressing, where Snowflake has a by default encryption and compression. Now, quickly move to the Snowflake. So let me move to my screen browser. I hope you're able to see my screen.
Yes, yes, we are able to see your screen. Please continue.
Okay. So as soon as you go to the snowflake.com, you will basically you can basically sign up
Ravi,
for the Snowflake.
Ravi, you can do it in the presentable mode, like just press F5 so that the full screen is viewable.
I'm on the browser right now. So
Okay, okay, cool, cool, thank
okay. So as soon as you go to the snowflake.com,
you. Okay, so you
so
are on the browser. We are not able to see your screen. We are just able to see the slide. Getting started with
okay,
Snowflake.
okay. So maybe I need to share it as well. So I think I need to share that as well. You able to see now?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We are able to see.
Okay, so as soon as you go to the snowflake.com, you simply you can get a trial for a 30 days trial, and that will give you $400 credit, and you simply go and sign for free, and it will open up a form for you, which will have your which will take your first name, last name, email, title, company, and country, and it will actually set up your account for Snowflake. So as soon as your account is set up, it will and you validate your email, you will have a login screen where login screen. So if you see my address bar, the first one, this UR47165, is basically your account number. This ECUS2 is basically the reason. So you can use it. And now I will log in it. So once we are logging into the Snowflake, so you see it's a pretty simple workspace dashboard, but it's a very clean, neat and clean thing. So we have uh, database. These are basically the tabs that we have. The, these are basically the marketplace warehouse. This worksheet is basically the place where we do all kind of work. So we have a basically database, and then we have under database we have schemas, and under schema we have basically tables. So by default, when you start your first trial, you will see a by default demo database and a Snowflake sample data. You will have these uh, by default schemas created, and in kind of information schema or any kind of sample data, you will have a call center catalog and all those things. The sample data to play with. Now over here you can see the user you are logged in, the type of your role, the warehouse that you have selected, your database, its schema, and all those things, all the information that you can see over here. Now, the first thing that we go ahead and we do over here is basically we go to warehouse, and the first thing that we do is basically we uh, create a warehouse over here. Like for example, by default, say computer warehouse, it's automatically created. So you can make another warehouse as well. You simply go and create it. You just put your name, size this Excel. So in Snowflake world, these sizes are basically t-shirt sizes that we call over here. So it's a basically uh, small, medium, large, XL, 2XL, 3XL, 4XL. And one credit has basically the means credit means it's server.
This is
So,
great. Like this is great. This is how we actually estimate at the very high level when we do estimation for client. And I think they have used this very nice standard. Like it becomes easy for people to manage things out and avoid you from clutter. That's great. Like fantastic.
right. So whatever that you warehouse you create, you can simply select your size, the maximum cluster you want to have, auto suspend. So you do not want your warehouse to be on all the time, so you can always suspend it. Command, and whatever you select over here, you can always see the SQL over here. So uh, when you go to source SQL, it will actually show you the SQL queries for this. So for example, I have already created a run right now. I need to run a very small query. So obviously, as soon as your size increases, you have to pay more. So because we have to run a small query, so we can simply take a access small size over here in a warehouse on all the time. So you can on the warehouse we run we actually create a database. So again, for creating database, we can uh, use this Snowflake demo and util database are basically the common database that they provide. You can create a first database over here. Simply go to create and just name and comment. And again, the language as I talked about, it's a answer is SQL only. So you simply like create database and database name, and it will automatically provide uh, make a database for you. Now again, you suppose you want to copy a database, make a new database. So you can simply go based on a previous database, for example. So you can simply go and do a cloning of database. So in that case, it will only copy the schema of database. It will not copy the data. So and this marketplace are basically it's a marketplace where you can take all the any kind of uh, Snowflake data sharing is basically sharing the database. Like for example, multiple uh, uh, you want to consume data from multiple places. Like you can have a multiple accounts and you can share the data from here. So let me go to the worksheet. Again, over here, um, you have all your, like you want to switch your role, for example, for any particular user, you want to switch your role to, like by default your role is sysadmin. You have to move to the public or user admin. In most of the cases, a user used to have only the user admin roles and all. Preferences is basically, again, you go back and change your MFA. So you want to enroll for MFA and all those things, that you can always go back and do it. So let me go to the worksheet. History, okay. So history is basically a tab where you can see all your queries. So whatever query that you run on your worksheet, that is actually saved on your uh, history tab. And there's one important thing is that it's a query ID. It's a unique for each and every query, which means, for example, if you have some issue with particular query or something like that, and you want any kind of support from Snowflake team, you can simply share this query ID with them, and they will be able to help you out. So it's a unique for all your education. Even if you execute the same query again, there will be a different query ID for it. And for each and every query that you run, it actually show you your duration of your duration of education and all, and you can always see the explain plan and everything
This is
as
awesome.
well.
Yeah, this is an awesome feature. We have always have dreamed about this in most of the databases. This is awesome. Yeah.
Right. So let me go back and create a sample table for you. So I have uh, like I simply go back and create a table. So I simply go and create a table. Mm. Or I think I already saved this query, so I can just show you. So uh, I'm, I'm actually making a table over here, create table in my first database under public schema. You see where my warehouse is compute warehouse, database is first, and schema is public. Simply I go back and run this query. It will create my first table. Now I need to load the data. So loading data is, so in Snowflake you can load data from Amazon S3 bucket, from Azure uh, blob storage, or you can use any file. So let me use Snowflake has a wide range of sample data provided in Amazon S3 bucket, so that I'm going to use. So for any uh, Amazon S3 bucket data that we have to want to bring, we need to create a stage for it. So, so the first thing that we'll need to create will basically make a stage for it. So I will simply go and create a Amazon S3 stage, like for example, and you can name anything like, and it will be basically a staging area where I will basically bring my file, and then I will start loading it. Load it. So I will simply go back and create a stage over here. I can we can use Azure, or we can use any other platform where you can we have the storage. Sorry. As soon as you so right now I'm using So my and as soon as my table is created, you simply need to refresh it, and you will able to see your table. It's demo training table, and you now my sorry. Now my table is there. So we have a table. Now I need to load this table. So there's a copy command in Snowflake. So using the copy command, we can simply load the data into this table. So I'm loading data into this demo, and it's not a case sensitive. So you can always go back and use capital, small, whatever. Yeah. So now I'm actually downloading from S3 Snowflake Essentials. So there's a CSV over there. So our first table storage. The file format my is basically CSV. Limited in the file is pipe, and I need to skip the first header. So I simply go back and run this command. And over here, here is to see. So it basically it took me 4.64 seconds. So my querying time was it actually shows me complete duration of my query execution. So it has a querying time, a compilation time, execution time, and all this the complete breakup of time. So so always you can go back and see the explain plan, like how my query is performing and all those things. Now it basically loaded successfully. Row pass. There were 10 row. It was passed. Their loaded was 10. There was no error. So now my data is loaded into table. So I can go back and see. If I go to history that I talked about, so see over here. So I will see. See. So you have complete duration of this. So when you go to profile, so you can see that it will basically show the explain plan of your query. My query was a simple query, so it only showed so over here like it's a external table and insert and its regression. For example, when you query the huge query, it will actually show you complete performance of each and every step. I'm going back to the warehouse, worksheets. Now I go back and see the data in my table. Now you can see, so my data is loaded in the table.
So the biggest beauty is like the beauty of this platform is that everything that an architect solution, data solution architect designs is already inbuilt into it. So, so most of the things, right, Ravi? So that's the
Right.
one one of the great thing. And now the seamless
So,
integration with the cloud platform, like if you have to pull up data from S3 bucket, they've given you everything, and that's what a data architect does. Like he will try to set up the staging and then the main and then the
right,
pre-prod. Everything is here, so that's a great thing
right.
about it. Yeah, Arun has a lot of questions. That's great. So obviously we'll try to answer one by one. Just give us a few moments before Ravi finishes his talk.
Yeah. So I'm moving to and Snowflake has a great documentation as well. So you can simply go back to a Snowflake documentation and see it's a complete details of Snowflake. So any kind of question that you have, that's already listed in documentation, as well as Snowflake has a great support. So you simply reach out to them uh, in the support people, and they will they will actually return to you with actually within no time. Now, moving to the
Adding to Ravi, so the guys who are there on the streams, there is a certificate out there once you finish this course. I think it will take you, Ravi, another 15-20 minutes to finish, right? So if you just
yeah,
stay with
okay,
us for another 15-20 minutes, and if you've already been there for long now, what I believe, you'll get a certificate for of participation. Definitely, yeah, that's great. Yeah, Ravi, this is a great tool, I believe, yeah.
yeah. Now I'm moving to the next slide. Now I'm coming to the pricing. I hope you are able to see my slides as well. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we can
Thank
see.
you. So now, okay. Now coming on to pricing. So Snowflake pricing is basically are based on basically storage, compute, data transfer. For metadata, Snowflake do not charge anything, which means that there's no cost for database definition, table definition, users, and all those things. Now coming to the storage, so the pricing of Snowflake is basically based on the volume of data and the compute that you use. Since this computer and storage are decoupled, so there is no so the pricing for each will be different, can be different. So customers are basically charged on a monthly basis for data they store in Snowflake, and the cost is basically determined on based on the compute that they're using, and for the data they're loading into Snowflakes, and data they're storing into it. If you talk about the data transfer cost, so there are no cost in Snowflake if you transfer the data within Snowflake within the region. But if you transfer the data outside the Snowflake into any other cloud platform or outside the region, they are charged to it. And the charges are basically kind of like it's a 20. As of now, it's charges are like approximately $23 per terabytes. And for compute cost, they are basically Snowflake uses the credits, the compute credits for the prices, and it is charged on the monthly basis. Now coming on the most important part of the Snowflake, that is the architecture that we talk about. So to talk about the structures, the architecture of the Snowflake. So Snowflake uses a multi-clustered shared data architecture, where Snowflake store the data into S3 bucket or Azure blob storage. When let's take an example, like when a user load data into a Snowflake, it moves into a multiple micro files, and then it is stored into Amazon S3 bucket or Azure blob. Now, when you query the data, it basically uses a virtual warehouse to uh, load or retrieve the data. Uh, in case of now, when you talk about compare this with traditional data warehouse, in traditional data warehouse, they are basically a common. They are basically there is one storage layer where all the database are at the same place. Where in case of Snowflake, we have a multiple virtual warehouse. Like for example, we can have a virtual warehouse for load, and we can one virtual warehouse for uh, uh, return the data and all those things. And all these can be on the same layer. Now, coming on this particular architecture that we'll talk about, at the storage layer, the the least bottom layer is basically data storage layer, where it basically stored into multiple files that microfiles we talked about, where it can be stored on the Amazon S3 bucket or Azure node. When coming to the query processing, as we talked, like uh, it basically uses Amazon EC2 instance. So mm, y- y- you can have a separate virtual warehouse for loading data in Snowflake and a separate for reading as well. So which means that each and every warehouse is basically isolated, independent, and and it can scale up to the uh, any volume uh, based on the need that we need. The most the brainy part of this particular Snow architecture is basically the top one, which we call cloud services. So it's called the brain of the Snowflake. So what happens is that when a user fires up a query, it just spins the virtual warehouse automatically and copies the data from Amazon S3 or Azure Blob Storage to the virtual data warehouse. It also the this particular service also works to maintain the metadata like table, column, definition also, and this particular cloud service is also responsible for your access controls, roles, services, roles, uh, mm, your securities policies and everything. So this was all about the Snowflake architecture.
Ravi, we have lost your screen and voice too. So, Ravi, hello. Ravi, are you there? Ravi, looks like he has some connection issue. So just give us a moment. Uh, Let me ping him on WhatsApp or call him. Let him know that there is an issue. Ravi, are you back? Hi, we are not able to hear you. Able to hear you. This Webex gives a little problem. Okay, so yeah, his laptop has a blue screen, so he'll be joining shortly. So he's restarting his machine. Just give us a moment, and in the meanwhile, what I will do is like uh, will I think there are a couple of questions. Let me see if I am able to answer that out. Yes, Ravi will answer. So just give me a moment. So looks like Ravi.
Yeah, I was about to say that. So, in the meanwhile, hi everyone. This is Dheeraj Singh here.
Yeah, this is Dheeraj.
Uh,
Yeah,
I'm looking into the chat to find out the questions right from beginning.
yeah.
Okay.
So uh, yeah, so Ravi screen gone blue, so he's starting the machine. Just give a little moment. Does it have an inbuilt ETL tool as well? I think Ravi will be able to tell, but obviously it would have. Can we connect to an external source instead of creating a database? So that's why we said like it was like Ravi showed you, right? So he's able to connect um, to S3 bucket or blob storage, and that's what you're saying. How should we interpret credit? So as he said, like Excel, double Excel, so it's more easy to connect to. And then obviously he said that the bandwidth cost would be like there if you try to connect to an external source or try to bring data from external source, which is quite obvious because if you're trying to connect it from some other source which is not on their platform, there would be a bandwidth cost. But if you are just playing inside their platform, there will be no bandwidth cost. Um, some other question, the browser is not is visible, why only Terra? If we talking cloud, let's compare it with Redshift, for example. Yeah, obviously we'll Ravi most probably would have given an example of Teradata, but obviously if we compare with Redshift, Redshift is a completely different solution given by AWS, and we already had a session in the past on the same. Redshift is obviously a very massive, a fantastic tool. But Snowflake is more around it. It's a combination of database and data warehouse. It's a mix of database and data warehouse. Uh, where as you've seen the screen, like when he was doing demoing, it becomes a little easy for people to work on it. So
Yeah.
if we try to do a apple to apple comparison, obviously we'll have to set up another session on that, and then we can compare both to do a very detailed comparison. But it's a nice topic, I would say, and we'll definitely keep that in mind that we have to bring that session on the same soon. Yeah, Dheeraj, yeah, please.
Yeah, so the basic thing behind the both, like whether it's being a Redshift data warehouse or the Snowflake, the basic thing is the architecture. So what we design, as you just mentioned, the way we used to build in old school, we used to define each and every component, wherein we have the inbuilt architecture for any of the data warehouse. Eventually you still have to manage the way, again it is depending on the type of data what you are handling it with. But yeah, eventually you have to manage and build those warehouse techniques, but the architecture is ready to eat, like ready to build. Everything is ready, all you have to do is like start loading the data based on what type of a warehouse you're trying to build in, whether it be it's in normal form or the dimension modeling, whatever it is.
And because it's a database, as Dheeraj mentioned, so ETL can be applied through any tool, right? So if because it's allowing you to connect to different source, so anyway we'll be able to apply on the fly cloud ETLs like Data Factory or maybe tools which are there available in AWS, Alibaba Cloud, or even the standalone tool. And there are Blendo and other tools which are available, which are specifically meant for it.
Yeah, that's correct. And I think I was talking on mute. I don't think so. Hello? Yeah. And I don't think so. It has, this is a pure data warehouse thing. It doesn't has any inbuilt tool in it, but you can, as Anjani just mentioned, you can connect it to any of the third party tool or like AWS Glue or Data Factory or anything you can connect it with too. Uh,
Uh, Obviously, Ravi had a blue screen, so he's still joining. He may take a moment. I'm not sure he would take much more time, I believe. So he says restarting. Let me ask him what is the state. Uh, what is the state now? Just give us a moment, guy. this week has gone a little wild. Yesterday, like obviously, it was a little horrible when you see because Webex was not working at the Simon end, and then he is a pure core techie, and then he was um, talking on such a very advanced topic. Obviously, IoT in itself is advanced, and then there was like some more like other yeah. So he's saying joining, so he will be coming. And then another thing was blockchain. So it was IoT on blockchain, and then he was trying to run the code on the fly, and obviously he did it. That's the greatness in him, and he was able to show that. If you go on the YouTube video that we have posted, you'll see that he has completed his code and ran it, and then he was able to show that the chip was really blinking when the transaction was being completed. So so obviously techies are techies, like people like him are like a gem in the industry. But yeah, there are odds to him also. He put himself on mute and then went off, and then we had to struggle for another 5-10 minutes to come back. Okay, so how to connect Anaconda with a Snowflake? Yeah, so yeah, this may be exploration on the on Google, but yeah.
Yeah, I it okay. The Anaconda, you can connect it, but it requires an additional
Okay,
input
Arun.
or
So if you had a hard stop, no issues. We have our Telegram channel. You can connect to us anytime. You have already completed most of the part of the course. And if you need the certificate anytime, we'll just pass you the code. Anyway, we'll announce the code. We're just waiting for Ravi to come here. Um, just give us one 2-3 minutes. But anyway, you can connect on Telegram, and then we can pass you the code. Okay, so Ravi machine looks like has gone. So uh, but anyway, I think he was able to do most of the part of the course, right, Dheeraj? So he was able to demonstrate most of the things, right? So
yeah.
yeah, so let me announce the code now. I think it's a good time to announce the code. We have already completed a well suit of demo on a Snowflake, and obviously we'll have another version of the session, or maybe phase 2 of the session, where we can explain it in little detail. Obviously, few questions are there which remains unanswered, like how to connect
I
Anaconda with a Snowflake, and
Yeah,
uh,
that's basically you need to have additional connectors to connect it through the Anaconda. You cannot just directly connect it with it, but
yeah,
yeah, it is compatible with it.
okay, okay, cool then. So okay, so I'm announcing the code. Uh, go on to claim the certificate. You can go on to any platform or which are available that we have talked about. But the best is that let us give you the base platform, which is https colon www dot 5thir.com. I will ping that to you also. So is https colon www dot 5thir. If you are able to see my screen, uh,
You're not sharing it. You may have to share.
okay, just trying to put in a note. So it's 5thir, right? So colon www dot 5thir. If you are able to, and then once you are there, you have to pass in the code, which is SND, all in full, all in caps, SND. So I'm sharing my screen, and again let's go here. I have put in mute, so you put in www.5thir.com. It will direct you to the right event page, and then you put your name, you put your phone number, you put your email, anything which is there. And then once you are there, xyz@test.com. I'm not trying to claim the certificate, but anyway, you can go into next and then put in here all caps SND. So it's SND. Once you put in there, put in next, and once you submit, you will get your certificate. But anyway, thank you guys for joining today. And if you face any issue with the certificate, this is our Telegram channel, which is there on the website on the fifthir.com. This is our Telegram channel. You can connect here, and we'll be able to help you out. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Anjani. Thanks, everyone.